Hey guys, Miss Dar here, and this video is for Tuesday, September the 1st. I can't believe it's September. We are going to be continuing with connective tissues today. This is, I guess you could say, day 2 of connective tissues. Yesterday you learned about reticular tissue, adipose tissue, and areolar tissue. We're going to finish, all of those are types of connective tissue proper. We're going to finish connective tissue proper today by talking about dense connective tissue, and then we're also going to talk about fluid connective tissue today. Then we'll finish up tomorrow with supporting connective tissue. So dense connective tissue has a lot of collagen in it. One thing that's going to vary is how those collagen fibers are arranged. We're going to be looking at dense irregular connective tissue, as well as elastic connective tissue. All of these are types of dense connective tissue. You're only going to be responsible for knowing, for being able to identify dense regular connective tissue. I may ask you questions about dense, irregular, and elastic connective tissue, but I will not give you a picture or ask you to identify those two. The only one I would ask you to identify would be dense regular connective tissue. Again, don't forget, as you're watching this video, there is a notes assignment for you to be typing notes, and then there will be an interactive notebook for you to identify some pictures. And again, the reason why we're using pictures is because normally if we were in school, we would be looking under the microscope, but since we can't do that because we're not at school, then we're going to be just looking at pictures to identify these tissues. Okay, so again, with these dense connective tissues, there are lots of collagen fibers, and as I said earlier, the difference is in how they are arranged. With dense regular connective tissue, the collagen fibers are parallel to one another. So as you can see here, they're all running the same direction. In this picture, they're all running horizontally. The darker pink lines, the lighter pink lines, the purple looking lines, all of those are collagen fibers that have been stained so that we can see them in this picture, and they are all running the same direction, so they are parallel to one another. It does contain cells called fibroblasts, like we talked about before when we talked about the cells in connective tissues. The fibroblasts are literally producing fibers, giving rise to fibers. So again, the fibroblasts are producing the collagen fibers. Examples of dense regular connective tissue are going to be tendons, ligaments, and aponeurosis. Where can we find these? Well, we can find tendons connecting muscles to bones, we can find ligaments connecting bones to bones, and we can find aponeurosis connecting muscles to one another. So again, any of these would be examples of locations where you can find them. So again, this is dense regular because the collagen fibers are running parallel, and we can see that they're all running the same direction. In this picture, they're running horizontally. The function is to connect things. They're connecting or attaching things together. And then the location would be in tendons, which would be between muscles and bones, or you could say in ligaments between two bones connected together, or in aponeurosis between muscles. Okay, so any of those locations would work as long as you know at least one of them. Okay, here's another picture of dense regular. Again, you can look at the illustration and then the actual picture, and you can see those dark pink lines here, collagen fibers running parallel to one another. Moving on, dense irregular connective tissue, again, does have lots of collagen fibers. The difference here is that the collagen fibers are not all running parallel to one another. They form, again, a network, a woven mesh, which gives strength in many directions. So strength and support in various directions, and it's going to be found around your bone, in what's called the periosteum, around cartilage, and what's called the perichondrium, also around some organs. Now, again, I'm not going to be asking you to identify this tissue, this dense irregular. Moving on, again, you can just see there, you don't have those parallel fibers. They're all just kind of, running in different directions, forming that network of collagen fibers. Okay, elastic tissue, again, this is another one you will not have to identify for me. Again, as it sounds like, it has lots of elastic fibers. That's why it's called elastic tissue. Even though it's going to have collagen, it's also going to have elastic fibers, and that's why it's called elastic tissue. Again, it just like the dense regular and irregular, it is going to have fibroblasts producing these fibers. And again, it is stretchy. Anytime you hear elastic, you should be thinking stretch, expand and recoil kind of thing. This is the tissue that allows your respiratory passages and your blood vessels to constrict and dilate, to get smaller and get bigger. We also find this helping to stabilize the vertebrae in your spinal column. Again, I will not be asking you to identify this tissue. And then here's another picture. Okay, moving on to fluid connective tissue. There are two types of fluid connective tissue, and that's going to be blood and lymph. First, let's talk about the components of blood. Half of the volume of your blood is red blood cells, abbreviated RBC for red blood cell, or erythrocyte. Again, cyte means cell and eryth means red, so red cell literally. The function of our red blood cells is to carry oxygen to all the tissues of our body, and it does also carry some carbon dioxide. The liquid portion of our blood, the matrix of our blood, is again watery. It's the watery ground substance, and it's called plasma. And all of these cells are suspended in that plasma, in that ground substance. Again, this is the matrix of the blood. There's proteins in your blood called antibodies, but I'm not sure you would call those protein fibers. So I'm not sure, you really don't have the collagen, elastic, or reticular fibers in your blood. It's probably going to be the only connective tissue that doesn't have some of those protein fibers, but the ground substance, which is the part of the matrix, is the plasma. As I said, the red blood cells are suspended in the plasma. The white blood cells are also suspended in the plasma. We may abbreviate. We also call those white blood cells WBCs or leukocytes. Again, leuko means white. So literally, leukocyte is white cell. Again, remember that white blood cells fight pathogens. They are able to attack and destroy pathogens. There's lots of different types of white blood cells. We're not going to get into those, but this is the name of some of them. Notice we did talk about basophils when we talked about, or not basophils, we talked about mast cells. Mast cells are basophils. They produce that histamine and heparin that help when you're having it, that cause the allergic response and inflammation. But again, their function is to attack and destroy pathogens. And then the other component of your blood, besides the red blood cells and white blood cells, are platelets. Platelets are tiny, tiny, tiny. We'll look at them in a second. And they contain enzymes that are responsible for clotting your blood. So, for example, if you know someone who is a free bleeder, who has hemophilia, is the actual name for that genetic disorder, their enzymes in their platelets don't function properly. And so, therefore, their blood doesn't clot like it should. And so they have to take blood transfusions in order to get the platelets that have the functional enzymes to clot their blood. I don't know if they have medicine for that now or not. The last time I knew, people with hemophilia had to get blood transfusions quite often to get functional enzymes, to get platelets that contain functional enzymes. Okay, so here's a picture of blood. Again, you can see all the little red things are the red blood cells. Again, the red blood cells are concave, which means they kind of dip down in the center, so that makes them very thin in the center. And so when you have them under the microscope, it looks like they're clear in the center. So sometimes the red blood cells almost look like little donuts because they're concave. They're so thin in the center. When the light comes through, it just makes them look clear. And then we can see here the white blood cells. The nucleus is stained purple. Again, all these tissues that we're looking at, guys, normally they're not going to be this color in your body. They have been stained so that we can see all the different parts under the microscope. Most of the tissues in your body are going to look kind of pink or even clear and be really hard to see, like all the cells in the different parts. So they stain them so that we can visualize the different parts under the microscope. So anyway, the white blood cells, the nucleus will be stained purple. And so that's why you're looking purple. If you look around them, you can see this pink or sometimes clear. And then the platelets are these little bitty tiny dots. Again, platelets are really bitty, really little. Moving on, these are some of the different types of white blood cells. Again, you don't have to know these, but here's a basophil. You can see those granules of histamine and heparin. So again, like a mast cell. Here's a neutrophil, an eosinophil. That's a red blood cell. This is a platelet. There's a monocyte. There's a lymphocyte. So lots of different types of white blood cells in our blood. These are really, really magnified images for you to be able to see these different types of white blood cells, but you're not going to have to know those. That's just for your information. Okay, the last type of fluid connective tissue is lymph. Lymph is the only other fluid connective tissue besides blood. Basically, in your tissues, you have interstitial fluid, which is just like a liquid. It filters, this interstitial fluid filters into your lymphatic vessels and goes through your lymph nodes. And once it enters those lymphatic vessels, it's called lymph. It is made up about 99% lymphocytes. No antibodies like blood, just lymphocytes. And that are going to be perusing around your tissues and in these lymphatic vessels, destroying pathogens that may have gotten into your body. Okay, and that is all we have for today, guys. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.